I think back in the 40s or 50s, there was the red car. Remember that?
Yep.
And I never rode it. I wasn't old enough to do that, but my grandfather told me about that. He used to take that everywhere, from the beach up to the foothills and inland. Go anywhere on that, and that was cheap and easy.
Did he talk about that a lot? The red
Yeah,
car?
every time because I was working in LA at the time, when I talked to him about it, he'd mention, "Hey, you ever ride the red car?" Oh, they don't have it anymore.
Long before Los Angeles became known worldwide for, among other things, freeways and gridlock, it boasted the largest metropolitan transit system in the United States. The red and yellow cars, as they were known, boasted some 1,500 miles of track around Los Angeles and served all the counties, except for Ventura, in the greater metro area. At the time, LA was experiencing phenomenal growth. In 1900, the city had less than 175,000 people, but by 1920 there were more than 500,000 residents. This huge influx could be attributed to the discovery of oil in the area, and by 1923, LA was supplying a quarter of the world's petroleum. As more people showed up, space was needed to house all these new workers and industries, so the city began incorporating townships around it, mostly areas that hadn't secured water property rights. But the red and yellow streetcars connected them all, and at its peak carried some 80 million passengers a year in the late 1930s. But the red car, the yellow car, and the company that ran them, the Pacific Electric Railway, shut down and closed by 1964. How does it go from being a widely used and known train line, so much so that it still gets remembered today, to a non-existent and non-operational entity? The answer is probably outside honking its horn right now. It's been said that there is a conspiracy perpetrated by General Motors, Standard Oil, and others to buy out the streetcar lines and replace them with buses, which did happen, which in light of the condition of the early buses, ultimately meant that they were buying out the rail cars to get people into real cars. There is also another school of thought which says that streetcars became too slow and did not go enough places, and also had to be on already laid track, and thus became obsolete when the personal automobile became cheap enough for the average American to buy. The truth is probably somewhere in between. Bound to happen, but certainly helped along by companies which were seeking to advance their own businesses. What is known is that as the red car began to decline, investment and improvements to the line stopped happening, and by 1951 the first freeways began being built. Los Angeles, flush with money, people, and space from the war effort, saw the freeways as a better way to move people about, and the citizens were more than happy to have a way to get around quickly in the cars. Nowadays, Los Angeles sports some 16 million residents in 177 cities throughout 5 counties, covering some 35,000 square miles. There are 10 major freeways, any of which make the routinely published list of the worst congested interchanges. As the industry is here, Hollywood always shows a traffic problem in LA, to the point where whole movies can be based around one man snapping because of traffic, or a hitman waxing philosophical about how LA has too many freeways and is too disconnected, and how no one notices a dead man riding on the metro.
First time in LA?
No. Tell you the truth, whenever I'm here, I can't wait to leave. Sprawled out, disconnected. 17 million people. This is a country, the 5th biggest economy in the world, and nobody knows each other.
Even Who Framed Roger Rabbit had the red car conspiracy as its major subplot.
You got a car? Who needs a car in LA? We got the best public transportation system in the world.
It has even gotten to the point where the Best Picture of the Year bases its entire premise on how Los Angelinos don't interact unless they crash into each other.
We're always behind this metal and glass. I think we miss that touch so much that we crash into each other just so we can feel something.
For the most part, it is true. With the rise of the car came ease of commute, meaning one did not need to live near where they worked. The introduction of the freeway only reinforced that notion that much further. It is of no surprise, in light of these two factors, that LA has become highly self-segregated. Anyone can choose to live around the people they feel most comfortable with, and it's often easier to get around town by everyone taking their own car. The size of LA makes it unique in these respects. Every other city has to deal with self-segregation and commuter culture, but the mass influx of different cultures into an area so large means LA is not so much a city, but a continent, complete with different countries, cultures, and customs. But if we, as citizens of the city, only see people that look and act like us, if we only see the noise walls and graffiti on the sides of the freeways, will we ever be able to understand and learn from other people and cultures? If most of what we do is confined to small spaces, home, car, office, job, when we get into a non-controlled environment, how will we react?
I like it, but it's actually very fun to take the train. Very stress-free. I like it.
You meet some good people on it?
You do. You meet some interesting people. Kind of more on Saturday and Sunday, actually. But yeah, sometimes I recognize the regulars on the way home.
Especially if you're working downtown.
Right. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah, it's definitely raises awareness of the people that are around you. There's a lot of, I don't know, I don't want to say crazies on the train, but crazies on the train.
We see a lot of different types of people.
Yeah, I mean, there's business people going to and from work, or saving money on gas, and there's people that, just inner city kids or older people, homeless people that, scrounge up change to get from here to there. All these different people. There's people that are like loud and obnoxious and that don't really care about, personal space, and you kind of have to learn to deal with that. It's definitely something that you don't think about if you're driving with your windows up, music on. You don't have to go.
Some crazy things.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people like get in fights. I've seen people. There's people like panhandling. There's people playing their music and trying to, asking for donations.
Do you ever have to deal with any sort of strange situations here? Or?
Yeah, well, you see quite a bit of activity going on. People, not getting along with one another. Someone having a misunderstanding, stuff like that. And
a lot of cultures coming together, huh?
Yeah, right.
Do you think you get to see a lot of the different cultures in LA?
In terms of people, I think so. There's a lot of different ethnic people, different classes, so it's kind of interesting to see who's riding with you.
Yeah, it's kind of gets a little bit of good people watching.
Yeah. Actually, people look at me and say like, "That's for poor people," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay. I guess you could think about it that way." But I think for me, it says a lot about how green you are. And I think a lot of people in LA doesn't think that way, but I think if you go to any other big metropolitan areas, a lot of people, white collar people, they ride the public transit. So yeah, but I think in LA it makes a different statement, perhaps.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a cultural experience. We don't have different people.
Right. Oh, you do. You get to see a lot. I mean, the Green Line goes through a lot of different neighborhoods.
Right.
So you get to see a lot.
So you can see a lot of different people get on and off, depending on the hour of the day. It can be more entertaining than not.
I think it's a good alternate solution to the problem of gas and parking and everything. Absolutely. And if I had a stop a little closer to my house and something that went exactly where I wanted to go, I'd probably ride it more.
The metro needs to be expanded all the way out to Santa Monica. Okay. And they should probably expand it more southern too, because there's so many places that people go that they don't have access to that they should have access to.
Okay.
Definitely at least out to Santa Monica, because Wilshire Boulevard is one of your major roads in Los Angeles.
Yeah, definitely.
And it only goes out to Westlake, which is ridiculous, because even if it went out to La Brea, right, I mean, that's like the heart of downtown. And going to Beverly Hills, there's a lot of people that commute out to Beverly Hills. I know they've dug a tunnel out to La Brea, but they haven't made it accessible to people. So I mean, they should definitely extend it all the way out to Santa Monica to help people commute better. If that was the case, it'd be easier to get around LA.
I work in the environmental field, so I feel that this helps the environment too. And so the only wish that I have for Metro is that I wish that it took us to more places, and that it came more regularly, especially on the weekends, so we could ride it to different places. Right now it's pretty limited in terms of where it could take you. For example, I work in Culver City, and there's no route that takes you directly to Culver City. I mean, they're building one right now, but it'll be probably next 10 years before that happens.
It'll be a while,
It has been said that Los Angeles is a lonely town, maybe because of the competitiveness of the industries here. But just as equal is the lack of interaction. It isn't often you can walk down a street in LA and run into a crowd of people. The metro and bus lines are not the answer, but it is one of the few places in LA where one intersects with people from all walks of life outside of the bubble. Where people are not defined by the outside appearance of their transportation. Where everyone is equal in the time it takes to get around.